What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Aligning the Stars. I'm Jordan, and we are back today with the second episode of our Havoc Marauder build. I've spent the last week going through and putting on about 8 coats of paint. I wanted to make sure that all of the paint was super even and consistent across the board. The base color was fine. I wound up trying to create my own color of gray that didn't work out. It just wound up being black that was not so black. And it just didn't wind up working out. I wound up going to my local hobby shop, Hobby Town in Redmond, Washington. And I was looking, and this color is a dark, I think it's called Phantom Gray, and it is from Vallejo paints, and it's an airbrush paint. And this one, it's for mechs, and it is perfect. It wound up being the perfect color for what I was looking for. It wound up being the perfect color for likely a lot of things going forward as either the base colors. I wound up using the Phantom Gray as the base color for like a private model that I've been doing. Not a private model, just a model that I've been doing on my own. A car model doesn't really fit into this channel. I need as much practice as I can possibly get. And so building all sorts of different things. The car models are a little bit more technical than these ones are. I've definitely learned a few lessons doing it. And basically the paint color for Eleanor is what I got. It is I got a 67 Shelby GT500 model that I'm doing, and I was looking for the Eleanor colors from the Gone in 60 Seconds movies. And this gray with a metallic gray on top of it, it turned out beautiful. I'm almost done with the model. I will show you guys when I'm done. But I spent the last week, going in and painting the model. The learning curve was how to use the airbrush. And, to be honest, I'm not super proud of the paint. Specifically on these two parts here. For whatever reason, this is obviously the middle of the ship. For whatever reason, just the airbrush just is not cooperating when I was painting these parts. And it was with the older airbrush that didn't quite work well, so I wasn't getting as even of a coat. I wound up fixing it as much as I could and color correcting it as much as I could, but some of these pieces I'm not super happy with. However, these ones here I did think that turned out really, really well. The gray definitely has like a nice color to it. It's deep, and like I said, there's 6 to 7 coats on here. Really nice thin even coats, as you guys saw in the last video. The new airbrush really made a difference. And so these are all the parts of the model. I wanted to show it to you before we start. We're going to be assembling steps 1 through 5, which is basically just putting together the cockpit. It's a lot of steps for, just like steps 1 through 5, basically. And so, I just wanted to show all the pieces. And the thing that's interesting here is both of these colored pieces, these clear pieces, okay, if you notice, have the same numbers and are the same pieces. We are going to be using these 2 pieces for the windows, and then the bottom 2 pieces are going to be the blue ones here, or the red ones are going to be the windows, and the bottom 2, these are the engines. It's very interesting. Like, these 2 pieces, not used. These 2 pieces, not used. I am definitely going to be keeping these for, I don't know what, like, various model pieces that I'll be building. I've got some ideas for things, and so I'm going to need all of these little things. But it's interesting, like, instead of just like molding just this top one in the red and then just this bottom one in the blue, they chose to do both of them in different colors. Very interesting. So that's kind of like the only quirk of the model. Otherwise, what we're going to start doing here, and then of course we got our decals. I'm going to keep these in the package. I've learned my lesson over the years. Do not take these out of the package until you're ready to do decals. And when you're doing your decals, you do your decals. Don't wait, don't delay, don't do anything. All you're doing is doing your decals. So I have special decal glue and all of those things, so we're all ready to go for that. So let's go ahead and pull all of our pieces off to the side, and only going to be pulling in the relevant ones that we need. So we will be right back. Alright, so we are going to start by separating all of our pieces of the spruce. Now, one of the things we're going to do, as I said, there's going to be a certain way we're going to be building our models going forward. We're going to be very specific in the way that we handle all of the components. We're going to base coat them. We're going to separate them. We're going to clean them up. We're going to assemble them. We're going to assemble all of the stages individually, and then we're going to take the time to putty all the pieces, sand it down, and then we're going to assemble the final model, right? And then from there, we are going to do any final paint, any touch-up. Then we're going to be putting the decals on. And then if this model, and I think this model will deserve a coat, a clear coat to go over the top of it to seal everything in. So that's going to be kind of the process. I know in the previous video we laid out a specific process, and to be honest with you, I don't have that paper in front of me right now. And so, but for today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be starting the assembly phase. And so what we're going to be doing for this episode and then the next episode is we're going to be completely assembling all of the different components of the model by themselves. And then, so in this episode, we're going to be taking care of just building the cockpit because there's quite a few things that go along into the cockpit. And then we're going to be assembling the main body and then the wings. And then from there, we're going to move on to the next phase of the model. So this episode is going to be the cockpit. The next episode is going to be the rest. And in this episode, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be separating everything from the sprues. We're going to be sanding our pieces. We're going to be assembling them with glue. Keep in mind, this is a snap model, so our glue points are actually a little bit different than what you would see in a normal model. And then we're going to take those and then just have the complete section for the first part. And then we will be going on to doing the same for the next episode. And so, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and separate all of the pieces here from the sprues for all of this entire episode that we're going to be doing here real quick. So go ahead and observe as I do some sprue separation. Alright, so we got our pieces all together here for just the first 5 steps actually, which is kind of crazy to think. But then again, when you're building these models, like one of the things that I'm noticing is that the AMT model just better. I'm also building a Polar Lights model right now, and yeah, the instructions are so much better. It just clearer to understand. Like the Polar Lights model has me just like going, oh my god, because they have like at least 10 steps in the first step, and it's just like, oh my god. So, anyway. Alright, I got all my pieces set up here on my little board so I don't make too much of a mess. I have switched over to actual modeling cement, and super glue works. The Gorilla Glue that is the gel Gorilla Glue really worked well, but it's a very expensive product to do the same thing that rubber cement, or not rubber cement, but model cement will do. So I have switched over to that. I know it takes a little bit longer to set, but that's fine. Being patient is totally part of the name of the gig. And so the reason I also made the switch is I went over to regular super glue during the which build was that one? I think that was the last episode of the Millennium Falcon. And yeah, it was the last episode of the Millennium Falcon. And I had to open the new super glue, and it worked. It like set just like that, super quick. It was awesome. But then I left the glue sitting on my desk, and then even fully sealed up, it leaked out, and I've now got chunks of wood out of my desk, and I'm not pleased. And so that was enough impetus for change, so to say. So, yeah. We're going to be sanding down all of our connection points and just cleaning them up, making them real nice. And then any sort of gluing points that I can see that are going to be obvious, like this right here, our connection points, I'm going to sand them down just a little bit, making sure that the gluing will be having an easy time. I learned my lesson too with painting, so try not to paint too much on the gluing points on the connections. I forgot about how glue and models don't like working, or glue and paint don't like working together. So once again, it's all about the learning curve, right? That's why we're starting these models the way we are, like going small, doing small projects, so that when we start building some of the bigger models that I want to do, and some of the more complex and detailed models, there's no learning curve anymore. We have all the skills, and anything that we're developing at that point is just kind of advanced. So my learning lesson here specifically was how to paint. Starting with snap models is definitely going to help. The AMT snap model, I'm actually just really impressed with. It's just been there's a little bit of paint overflow here. Nice. Yeah, a little bit of seeing a little bit of paint. Yeah. Grab my other file here. Yeah, see a little bit of oh, that's just extra plastic. Yeah, we'll clean that up. With specifically with paint, and the snap models are really nice for, the fact that it's kind of an easy assembly, and I'm not like going into super complex. Like the Shelby GT model that I'm building, the engine was kind of like each part had to be individually painted a different color, and it was interesting. Like I found that to be incredibly fascinating. And then my gluing points, like I wasn't paying attention to my gluing points. So yeah, I just was not paying attention, and it made some paint run, and it wasn't easy to stick together in some points. And so, learning my lesson here. And so I'm going to clean up my paint points as well as best as I can. Here, for instance, just going to briefly scuff up these tabs that are right there. Just give a little bit of a cleanup of that spot, specifically where it connects. And our tabs there. The difference between a good model, I remember from when I was a kid, because some of my models were just awful. And in hindsight, you know, I thought I was pretty good when I was a kid. I had none of the tools, and I was definitely doing none of the things that I'm doing now. So, but I made some pretty good models back in the day. But let me tell you, some of my early ones, like, they were just like not painted. They were just quickly assembled and put together, and just a kid, right? And yeah, one of the lessons I forgot was that paint and glue do not go together. So, yeah, and the lessons learned for this are formative. Like, I've already applied them to several other models that I'm doing so many things. I'm out of control. I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't even know what I'm doing. But it's fun. Having some hobbies that, you know, watching TV. It's pretty awesome stuff. But to complete a thought, excuse me. The difference between a quality model and one that you just don't, that you just see, you know, and it's like, oh, that's cool, nice job, kid, is the level of detail work, like stuff like this, where we're sanding our pieces and making sure that everything is nice and clean. And we take time to paint it and do it in multiple coats. And, you know, that was the biggest thing for me, was taking this entire week and just slowly, like every time I had a moment, just drop base coats on the paint and get it ready to go. And it was fun. It was fun watching the whole process of just like the paint taking off. And like once you start getting into some multiple coats, you really start to see the depth and quality of a good paint job and what the difference that makes, you know. And that's the other lesson, is that take your time with the paint and do it right. And you don't have that much forgiveness. You really don't. Okay. So all of our parts are cleaned up. Let's go ahead and I'm going to blow this off here. Best I can without blowing everything off the thing. Well, let's get some of our glue. Now, the one thing I'll say, this smell takes me back to being a kid. So we have our Testors model glue here. Yeah, this smell just takes me right back to being a kid. But instead of applying it directly to the model like I used to, the pick and using the pick and getting a little bit of glue on the thing is going to be the approach that we're going to take going forward. It's just so much cleaner and nicer. Let's get our dab of glue here. Not going to use too much. A dab of glue there. There's a couple of posts right there. A little bit more on there, just for the sake of making sure it sticks. And we're going to take our window and drop it on the ground. Okay, so now we're going to take our window set in its spot and on top of its tab. Yeah. Oh, there it goes. And now I'm going to use my fingers to push that down. Yep, right into place. Super cool. Oh, you know, it's interesting about model building is like once you start assembling the pieces and you start to see stuff like this, where just even something simple as just the light or the windows going in, super satisfying. Okay, so now for the other part, so that's actually just step one there. On to step two, what we're going to do is we're going to be taking this piece here, and with this facing up and this way, looks like this piece slots right in here. Yes, indeed. So we're going to test fit where we can. Going to get some glue, and we're going to run it just inside this little track right here. I'm going to be paying attention to the fact that this is a snap model and that some of the work is going to be done on its own for keeping itself together. So I'm not going to go crazy with the glue at all. I don't want to make a mess. Okay. So that part is going to slide right in. Right there. And we're right in place. Okay. So now, that's going in. Perfect. Now what we're going to do is we're going to apply glue to all 5 of these posts. And we're going to be pretty liberal with the glue. Focusing right on the very top. One thing I forget about the model is the stringiness of the glue. Yeah, there's going to be all of the string everywhere now. Let's remember that. Okay. I wonder where that is. I'll have to figure out what the glue is. Now that I'm older, I can kind of figure that out. Okay, so now we're going to connect up there. Making sure connection points are ready. And we are snapped in. Now where we will be applying, so I'm going to take my file here a little bit real quick, sorry. Where we are going to be applying our putty is specifically along these grooves. Not in here, but along there. Along the edges. Where we can see that glue. I forgot about that. Just everywhere. It's the first time I've used it. So yeah, that's where we're going to be applying the putty. But there we have the beginnings of the cockpit put together. So let's go ahead and move on to our next step. That was step number 2. Step number 3 is a fairly simple step. We're going to be taking, which one was which? This is 5 and then 4, I believe. There are... Okay, so this one, and what delineates, I guess what makes it this piece number 5, and how I figured that out. Actually, hold on. Doesn't matter. No, this says it does matter. So what makes it piece number 5 is this little piece right here. Now, both pieces look the same, but this is also pointed up towards the top. So we're going to start here, and where we're going to glue is going to be right here on the tabs. And I'm trying desperately. This stringiness is going to drive me nuts. If any of you guys have any sort of tips and tricks for glue, that stringiness is going to drive me insane. But I do know that this is the appropriate glue for this. I was a little suspect of my choice to make super glue my model glue choice. For the Falcon, I'll definitely still be using that, but I'll be a little more careful. So now, where we will be doing our putty work is going to be along like this seam right there. Okay. So I'm just going to take some seconds here, push that down. There we are, nice set in place. Let's go ahead and switch over here to the other side. I'm going to get myself a little bit more glue. And a spot that is not right on the rip and possibly might go through onto my pad. This pad here underneath has seen the abuse of, I've had it for a couple years. I've tried to keep it clean as best that I can, but let me tell you, this thing has seen some abuse over the last month or so. With all the paint and all of the things that I've been doing, and it's getting harder and harder to clean. So I know that I should be having a better surface down for doing all of this, but you know, I just don't want to. So if I'm just being real, I just don't want to change it up. So yeah, but I will, once I get a new pad underneath, I'll make sure to I have a modeling measuring sheet thing, cutting board for specifically this, where I can just get paint on it and I don't care. But I'm not gonna bust out just yet. Not quite ready for that just yet. Let's go ahead and get this piece in. One thing I will say is that being that this is a snap model, the pieces go together so nice. Like they're really, really, really going together nice. Alright. Just a little bit of push down on my 3 contact points. Alright, so there we go. And then once again, like I said, you know, where our putty work is going to be just along the seams here and the connection points and just make sure everything's nice and clean. But I gotta say that this is really, like, my fingers aren't all stuck together. This is wonderful. I'm loving this. Okay, so now we're going to go on to step number 4 here. And what we're going to be doing is connecting these 2 pieces together. And just like before, we're just going to be focusing on getting glue on our connection points here. Got a good little glob on there. There we are. Try to avoid the stringiness. And let's go ahead and connect our pieces together. There we are. Very nice. Yeah, and I'm also not like super worried about making sure everything's bonded because once again, this is a snap bottle. They're designed to snap together and stay together. All I'm doing is ensuring the process. Okay, so that is step number 4, as crazy as it is, just kind of throwing this one together there. And then finally, for the last step of the day, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking this piece and assembling it into here. And so it is going to go with this part facing down, and we're going to put it right into place here. So in order to get that into place, how should I go about gluing this one? Because I'm going to be dragging it along some paint. This has got a little bit of play, but I don't want to mess with it too much. So where I'm going to glue is only going to be here on this inner connection point. I'm trying to be very specific, very, very specific about where I'm gluing this because this is designed to not be glued. So we will go ahead and do this here. And then just realize that there's nothing actually it's going to be connecting to right there. So our glue is going to go right here along the sides. Pay attention to your glue points, Jordan. Alright, now let's go ahead and get a piece clicked into place. There it goes. A little bit of encouragement, and there it goes, and no, don't separate. Wonder what just happened here. There we go. Very interesting. Not happy about going together here. So, I am thinking I need some glue. How interesting. What it appears is not happy about sticking together at all. It's not wanting it. This is definitely going to be a part where we're going to be repainting. You know, the beautiful thing about this is I got 1,000 projects going on, and work and life. And the beauty of doing these YouTube videos is it's nice little reminders of where I was last time. Last time on my life, I can watch this YouTube video and see what happened here and be reminded of exactly where I was at. And I tend to watch some of them when we're coming up on that. So it's a little bit more stable. This connection is a little less friendly. I'm a little less happy with it. What I'm going to do here is I got some clamps, is I'm going to go ahead and hopefully this is big enough to clamp into place. Maybe. Maybe, baby. Yep, perfect. So I do have a clamp here. That glue is put... I say that glue is put into place. Let's go ahead and try with our other clamp here. Just trying to make sure everything is all nice and tight and tidy. Okay, so we got our piece here, and I'm going to clamp this off screen because I just had whole shenanigans. And actually, I think the clamping that matters here is going to be this one. So let's go ahead and clamp that off to the side. Make sure that our center connection point is nice and tight and straight and true. And my friends, there we are, steps 1 through 5 of the Havoc Marauder. We have assembled the cockpit, we got our windows in, we got the connection point here at the back, and we have our sides connected. So, I hope you enjoyed this one, kind of like a little overview of what we did last time. Next episode, we're going to be putting together the wings and the body of the model. And then from there, we're going to be on to the next phase, which is going to be puttying and sanding. So, if you have any questions or comments, tips, tricks, oh man, let me tell you, there's been some just amazing tips and tricks in the comments. I really appreciate that. Definitely going to be some stuff that I'm going to be applying to my models going forward. So please leave them down below. If you'd like to support the channel, please like and subscribe. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for watching today. I know there's a million things you could be doing, and instead you chose to spend a couple minutes with me and watch my video. So, until we see each other again, my friends, I hope you all have a wonderful day in this beautiful world, wherever you happen to be. And until we see each other again, the Force will be with you, always.